It can be found in texts found in the Judean desert from the 1st and 2nd centuries, including the copper scroll found in Qumran and the Bar Kokhba letters and other writings found in caves near Nahal Hever. These documents provide a glimpse of everyday Hebrew, without indicating which regions they pertain to. Judean desert examples tend to indicate that it is a southern dialect. Greek was the primary language of the Jews of Hellenistic and Roman Egypt, particularly those of Alexandria. Although the Jews of Egypt used Aramaic in the early Ptolemaic period, it was quickly abandoned in favor of Greek. It is only in the early Byzantine period that Egyptian Jewish communities communicated with one another in Hebrew, which again served as the official language. 109. The use of Greek was not limited to the Jewish diaspora. From the 3rd century BCE onward, almost all inscriptions in the southern Levant were written in Greek, with the exception of tombs and ossuaries, as well as those in synagogues. 109. Many ossuaries of the period bear inscriptions in Greek, either indicating tombs of families descended from the diaspora or assisting authorities in identifying the tombs. According to the Mishnah, Greek was even present in the Temple of Jerusalem. 110. Greek was widely used in Judea, at least in a certain social stratum. Greek was also used in legal documents such as the Babatha archives and the Bar Kokhba letters. The Septuagint, a Greek translation of Hebrew Bible, was not limited to Jews in the diaspora. It was also used in Judea, as evidenced by the discovery of fragments at Qumran and Nahal Hever. The temple warning inscription, one of Tutankhamun's found. 108. This Greek inscription surveyed as a warning to pagan visitors to the Second Temple not to go any further. Greek names like Jason, Menelaus, and Alexander were popular among Jews throughout most of the Second Temple period. Some Pharisees, too, had Greek names like Antigonus of Sokho or P.T. Olion. Identity. In classical antiquity, the Jewish people were constantly identified by Greek, Roman, and Jewish authors as an ethnos, one of the many even living in the Greco-Roman world. Van Ren demonstrates why Jews of the late Second Temple period may be regarded as an ethnic group in modern terms by using 6 characteristics that co-ethnics share as outlined by Hutchinson and Smith. 111. Those include Sad Smiley 1, an ethnonym, a common proper name, that identifies and conveys the essence of its community. In antiquity, 3 proper names were used to refer to the Jewish ethnos, namely, Hebrew, Israel, and Jews. In Second Temple period texts, the term Hebrew was used to describe an individual from the pre-monarchic period of Jewish history. The term Israel was used as a timeless designation of the ethnos or to refer to members who were a part of united monarchy, the earlier northern kingdom, or eschatological Israel. Members of the contemporary ethnos were usually referred to as Jews, and the name can also apply to a geographically confined subgroup or to the descendants of the earlier kingdom of Judah. 112. 2. A myth of common ancestry. In the Jewish case, of descent from eponymous ancestor Jacob / Israel, moreover, the purported descent from Abraham was exploited by the Hasmoneans to broaden definitions of Jewishness, although this claim was disputed by others. 111. 3. Shared memories of the past, including historical events and heroes. Jewish sacred scriptures provide a fundamental collection of those historical stories. The community reading of the Hebrew Bible and other texts in synagogues help to further ingrain the stories and characters they contain in the collective Jewish identity. That includes figures such as the patriarchs, Moses and David, and events such as the Exodus, the covenant at Mount Sinai, the heyday of the United Monarchy, the Babylonian captivity, the Antiochian persecutions, and the Maccabean revolt. 111. 4. One or more elements of shared culture, which need not be specified, but usually include religion, language, and customs. There were significant overlaps between the religion, languages, customs, and other cultural aspects shared by ancient Jews. Moreover, religion cannot be separated from other cultural aspects, especially in ancient times. The worship of the God of Israel, the work of the temple in Jerusalem and other cultic sites, and the following of particular Jewish customs, dietary laws, Sabbath observance, etc., were major aspects of Jewishness at the period. Despite the fact that not all Jews spoke the same language because many of the sacred writings were written in Hebrew, it also served as a symbol for Jews who did not speak the language. 111.5. A connection to a homeland, which need not be physically occupied by the ethnic group in order for it to have symbolic attachment to their ancestral homeland, as is the case for diaspora populations. In the Jewish case, this is the land of Israel, or Judea/Palestina. For both the local Jews and those residing in the diaspora, the land held symbolic value. It endures despite the frequently shifting, occasionally non-existent borders. 113.6. A sense of solidarity on the part of at least some sections of the ethnic population. The strength of this sentiment varies. Josephus reports that when the First Jewish-Roman War broke out, the Jews of Scythopolis joined the city in fighting the Jewish rebels because they had weaker sense of solidarity for the Jewish ethnos. 113. In the centuries following the First Jewish-Roman War and the destruction of the Second Temple, Jewish identity gradually transformed from an ethnos with a distinct religious identity to a religious community that also considered itself a nation. 114. Nationalistic aspirations. Early Hellenistic Greek observers described the Jews as Eastern philosophers who lived outside of the Hellenistic political unrest of the time in an utopian ethno-national context. Jewish texts from the Persian era don't reflect any political aspirations for independence, and later, in the early Hellenistic era, Jews had a favorable view of the Hellenistic rulers. 95. However, the circumstances leading up to the Maccabean revolt caused a militaristic zealot tradition to form between the 170s and 160s BCE, and it continued to play a key role in the national life until the Bar Kokhba revolt. 95. Diaspora. The homeland remained the common symbolic tie of diaspora Jews. It was the center of the universe despite the fact that the majority of Jews living abroad would not come back, and despite the fact that many of them showed a love for both their native Greco-Roman cities and the city of the Temple in Jerusalem. 115. It is possible that the Jews of Smyrna, Asia Minor, donated money to support city projects. Treblinka refers to them as former Judeans rather than former Jews, implying that they were being referred to as a group whose origins were in Judea but who were now devoted to their current city of residency and even made contributions to public enterprises. Jews in Ecmonia, Phrygia made donations to their city and referred to it as their patris, home city or native town. 115. The works of Philo of Alexandria, writing in the early 1st century CE, shed more light on the connection of diaspora Jews with Judea. At Philo's time, Jews had long been present in the diaspora and particularly in Alexandria for quite a long time, and because his fellow nationals had lived in Alexandria for many generations, Philo appears to have thought of it as his city. But on the same time, Philo wrote that while the diaspora Jews refer to the place where they were born and raised as their fatherland, they consider Jerusalem to be their mother city. Sad Smiley. 115. 116. They hold the holy city where the sacred temple of the Most High God to be their mother city, yet those which are an inheritance from their fathers, grandfathers, and ancestors even farther back, are in each case accounted by them to be their fatherland in which they were born. Are reared. 117. 115. In an effort to explain the situation of the Jews in terms that Greek readers would comprehend. Fuller portrayed the Jews in the diaspora as immigrants who founded colonies, Greek, apoikiai, with Jerusalem being their mother city, metropolis. According to Kasher, Alexandria could only be considered a homeland in this case since it was where a Jewish colony was founded. The colony was organized as a distinct ethnic union with a recognized political and legal status, Politeuma, with Jerusalem serving as its mother city. 116. For Fuller, the ethnic distinctions between Egyptians and Jews are more significant than those between Greeks and Jews since native Egyptians from Alexandria are the lowest class residents and practice ridiculous habits. Around the same time, Apion, an Alexandrian who may have Egyptian ancestry, spoke of closeness between Jews and Egyptians and the inherent enmity between Jews and Greeks. Apion held to view that Jews were descended from Egyptians, which Josephus denied. As Fuller himself writes, both communities practiced circumcision and showed passion for their nationalistic and religious beliefs, yet the bulk of each population was not Roman citizens. 115. Demography. This section refers to the late Second Temple period, unless specified. By area. During the late Second Temple period and up until the Bar Kokhba revolt, Judea proper, Galilee, Perea Sharon, and western Samaria constituted a band of nearly continuous Jewish settlement. Central and northern Samaria was inhabited by Samaritans. 83. Galilee. The Galilee was sparsely populated up to the Hasmonean conquest, with the majority of its inhabitants concentrated in fortified centers on the margins of the western and central valleys. During that time, the Upper Galilee was home to a predominantly pagan populace with ties to the Phoenician coast. 118. According to the Book of Maccabees, Jewish communities were already present in Galilee during the Maccabean revolt and before the area was incorporated into the Hasmonean kingdom. Much of the Galilee was conquered and annexed by the first Hasmonean king Aristobulus I around 104–103 BC. This conquest encouraged a significant Jewish influx into Galilee. After the Roman conquest of Judea in 63 BCE, a second, larger wave of Jewish immigration settled in the region. During the end of the 1st century BCE and the beginning of the 1st century CE, large and important towns were founded in Galilee. 119. The Jewish population in Galilee continued to prosper after the Second Temple period and especially as a result of the Bar Kokhba revolt, when it replaced the depopulated Judea as the spiritual, demographic and cultural center of Jews in the land of Israel. Judaism reached its political and cultural pinnacle in Galilee during the late 2nd and early 3rd century CE. 119. Perea. Historical accounts and archaeological discoveries from the late Second Temple period provide evidence of Jewish settlements in Perea. Based on the database of the Jordanian Antiquities Department, Sagif's search of Jewish Transjordan revealed 160 settlement sites in Perea with late Hellenistic and / or early Roman potsherds. 120. The little excavations that have been done there show that Jewish habitation there continued after the first Jewish revolt, was abandoned or destroyed during the Bar Kokhba revolt, and then there was a settlement throughout the late Roman period. 83. Idumea. Even before the final collapse of the Kingdom of Judah in 586 BCE, the Edomites were driven from their ancestral homeland and former kingdom east of the Arabah and began to settle in the southern parts of Judea, which came to be known in classical sources as Idumea. This settlement process was continuous and it was carried out using both peaceful penetration and military invasion. 121, 122, Ostraca dating from the 4th century BCE from sites in Idumea including Arad, Beersheba, Tel Jemer Merisha, and others. indicate a very diverse population that inhabited the district during the late Persian period, with about 32% Arab names, 27% Ajami names, 25% General West Semitic names, 10% Judahite names, and 5% Phoenician names. 123, around the mid-3rd century BCE, a Hellenized Phoenician community from Sidon settled in Larisha. 33, 120.